everybody. I'm Raina from Blue Cypress Books, and welcome to Book Banter. Tonight, I'm super excited to be talking to Darby Baham. She is the author of the Shoe Diaries. It is a new Harlequin special edition, and it's the first book in the Friendship Chronicles. So when you read this one and love it, which I know you will, you have two more to look forward to. Darby is a New Orleans native. She now lives in New York City, and I am going to jump right into it because I'm really excited to talk to Darby and about her book. So let me click this button. Hi, Darby.
Hi, everyone.
Yay. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Raina.
Awesome. Thank you for joining me. It's super exciting, and I'm so looking forward to talking to you about this book. I have to remember not to give out too many spoilers because it doesn't actually hit shelves until Tuesday. So everybody out there, I will put the link in the comments later. You can pre-order yourself a copy of Darby's book. And Angela is already here. Hi, Angela. Thank you for joining us.
I do want to quickly, Raina, just say it's Darby Baham. I know that's
I
know.
Oh,
Hard A.
Hard A. There we go.
That's it's pure New Orleans, right? Where who knows how someone's name is pronounced.
Seriously. And here's the thing too, I need to make it just a across the board to ask everybody ahead of time, because your last name, I'm like, I got this. I don't need to ask. But my name is crazy and my maiden name is even crazier. So it's like, I should have asked. That's my bad.
No problem.
If anybody watching has any questions at any point throughout the event, please type them in the comments and we will answer them. If they're about books or shoes or New York or New Orleans or whatever, just type it in the comments. We will answer those questions. So to start us off, Darby, I wonder, tell me the progression. How did you get here, Darby?
Oh my goodness.
Easy. Oh no, right? Specifically, how long did it take you to write this book and get to this writing point? Because in your bio it says your background, is communications. How does that help you get here?
So you would think that it would have made it a shorter ride, but it did not. I have said to a couple of people that I started writing this book maybe a little over a decade ago. That is kind of true and kind of not. I started writing some version of it over a decade ago. I had the title so long ago, which is not me. Titles are not my jam. They are my biggest Achilles heel. It is the reason I could never have been a copy editor, because you have to come up with titles, right? But for some reason, the Shoe Diaries was just like, that's it. That's the thing. And then I had to figure out, well, what am I going to write about? And I had no someone showing me how to do plots and make sure you don't have this big gap that starts in the beginning and goes to the end or whatever. So I just sort of started writing about myself and my friends, and it just was all mished together. And then I started pitching it, going the traditional route, trying to find an agent. Got a lot of rejection letters, a lot of them, and was like, okay, I need to figure out something else. Let me think about this again. Right. Let me try again. And I started a blog so I could develop my creative writing a little bit more. Had an opportunity to work and write a couple pieces for the Washington Post where I honed some of my relationship style writing, and got much more comfortable talking about myself, right? Because those were first person stories where it was oh, here's me talking about this dress that I bought and saved for 3 years because I didn't want to wear it on not the perfect date, right? Or here's me talking about being an older sister and both of my sisters are in loving relationships and I'm the oldest one and supposed to be the one that they're following and I'm not, right? So it gave me, I guess, the opportunity to be more vulnerable. And then that led to me being able to write a better book. So it was,
Mm-hmm.
like sort of a traditional process, but not really. Because I put it down for a while, came back to it and was like, okay, let's dig into this again. And then I, started working on what would be this version maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And I found myself stuck on like the first 3 chapters because I'm an editor in my like day life. And so I was just like writing and editing all at the same time, which you should not do if you are an aspiring writer out there. Do not do that, because I just couldn't let it go. And one of my friends who's an editor as well, she was like, what are you doing? Let this thing go. You can't
get it all out there.
Right. You're never going to see it out in the world if you just keep changing like the for this or, a for that or whatever. And so I just stopped and just wrote it, pitched it again, found the best agent I could find. Like she ended up being the gem that I should have been with to begin with. And she pitched it to Harlequin and here we are.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, so you have, this is the first in a series.
Yes.
So that second one comes out in May. I'm not sure when the third one is. I don't have that date as yet, right? But that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Which is great for the reader.
Great for the reader.
Right?
Stressful for the writer.
Saying.
Yeah, so book 2 is actually done. It's written. It's been through the editorial process. It's going through like production and everything now. So that's exciting. The first book follows who is the main character in that book, Reagan. And then the second book follows one of her friends, one of her close-knit friends. And it'll go that same way for the
I'm gonna get you to tell me who that is later.
I
Maybe
will.
Not. After
oh yeah. And then I'm actually currently working on the third book right now. So while I'm preparing to launch book 1, I'm in writing mode for book 3.
Well, I would worry if it were me, like you're having to talk all about this storyline and not talk about the one you literally wrote earlier today.
Yeah.
So
that's tricky.
So as you're talking about it, and then from me reading this and what I do know of you, Reagan seems to maybe be the character that's the most based on you. Is that inaccurate?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, so Reagan, she certainly has my DNA. Like she's from New Orleans, lived in DC, that kind of thing. We have a lot of characteristics that are the same, but Reagan is also me, like 10 years ago, right? Because I started this book so long ago. So, I in the books that I'm writing now, I have an opportunity to put some of like me at 38, going to be 39, like put some of those characteristics into the other, characters that we're finding out more about. So I would say that like eventually they're all going to have pieces of me in them because I think that just sort of happens, right? But Reagan is certainly on the surface, definitely like me-ish, if I can say that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, no character in fiction especially is going to be exactly any person that you know, including yourself. But yeah, coming from New Orleans, living in DC, I see that from just what that's just all bio, writing the vertical, that relationship, see those pieces, right? And Reagan does that in her, that's her career. So we're going to switch over and answer this question to start, and then we're going to go back to some I have a shoe. So Linda asked, are there any books you read for inspiration when you were writing?
Oh, absolutely. So I hope she doesn't think I'm like a stalker, but I've said this a couple times that Accidental Diva by Tia Williams was like the book for me when I was in college. I think I read that book like 6 or 7 times. I could not put it down. I wanted to be the main character in it. Her name is Billy, and she lived in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And I just thought that was like, that's what I'm going to do when I graduate from Howard University. I'm going to move to Fort Greene, Brooklyn, and I'm going to be this writer du jour and all this kind of stuff. And then I learned how much it costs to live in Fort Greene, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that, actually. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the first ones that I just could not put down. I like certainly find inspiration from that because, because I loved it so much. Like the way that the characters are developed, I think people would probably find some similarities in there. And I just love good writing. So it's not all rom-coms, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm in a book club with some friends and we just finished reading, don't take our book cards, but we just finished reading an Octavia Butler book, which I know we've probably read years ago.
You know what?
So
I read
good.
my first Octavia Butler last year, and it was, again, one of those things I should have done earlier. And she's one of those authors who everyone said, great, great, great. And for some reason, you didn't get to it. And then you do, and you're like,
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, you're like, oh man,
Why?
I want to tell stories like that, right?
Right?
Even if it's not
Oh
that
my
genre,
gosh.
but just the way that she develops the scenes, and you can just visualize it so clearly. Like that's an inspiration to me. That's, I want people to read my books and to be able to put themselves right in that moment and feel like, good or bad emotion that character is having. Like, oh, I can totally relate to this.
Yes, absolutely. Which Octavia Butler did you guys read?
Oh my gosh. Now I'm blanking. It's the first one chronologically, but not like the first one that came out.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I do.
Wild Seed. Wild Seed.
Yes.
That was what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I started reading Mind of My Mind. So that one is the one that's in my head.
Right. Wild Seed. Yeah. I haven't read, I mean, she's got so many, but everyone I have read is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say, to reading your book, there are scenes, and you do exactly what you're hoping that you do, like sitting in that, they're in this club and she volunteers to be one of the people that waits because the bar's really stuffed with people, and she's going to wait, and her friends are going to go over and they'll meet up after she gets the drinks, and just that whole thing, and the way the guy comes up to her, and I'm like, man, like how many times have I been standing in a bar just minding my own business,
right?
And the music is kind of going, your friends are over there, and you're like sort of in the back of your mind, you're picturing where they are, and then your other friend is here, and they're keeping an eye on the bartender, and now there's this dude.
Right.
And like you did such a good job, like putting me standing. I mean, I'm describing it right now. I can feel myself standing. Anyone who's done that knows what you were talking about, and you did it great, like this great job. And getting in her head where she's like, well, I want to stay and talk to him, but also I want to go with my friends, and I don't, and that sort of back and forth, and every woman's done it, man. Every woman's done it.
It feels like so long ago with the pandemic, right? But yeah, we've all been there.
It's so ingrained. You've done it where you're like, I know what you're talking about, and you did a great job describing not only her environment, but then what she's thinking in her head. And I'm like, yep, I'm with
that's
you.
one of the things I love about being able to do first person writing, is that you do get to like sort of really dig into what that person is feeling at that moment, instead of having to have that third person perspective. It's like, no, get all the messiness and all the like good and bad things that they're feeling. It's almost like reading their diary.
Now, can I ask you about the future books? Are they all in first person?
Yes.
Okay.
At least in this series, for sure.
Right. I wonder, did you find it difficult to get into the head of a totally different character writing first person than as you went forward with the books?
I haven't thus far, because I realized when I got back into it, I needed to do what people call a character Bible. So for me, I have like these full page descriptions about like, what is it that this character is like thinking about all the time, and what's like the thing that really like boils their their I don't know what's the phrase, boils their blood or whatever,
right.
And so it's helpful for me to read that again to remind myself, of course, but I feel like I know them so clearly now that it's like, just jumping right back in.
Yeah. Well, and so if Reagan is based on you, are her friends based on some of your friends?
They
Loosely,
are.
not going to point fingers at anybody.
Yeah.
No.
They are, and they aren't. You know, I have had to tell a couple of my friends, like, they're amalgamations of folks. Like, you're gonna read them and be like, that's me, that happened to me, and I'm gonna tell you it's you, but it's also such and such, and it's also such and such, and it's just a fictional thing. Like, but I do have the benefit of, I have friends who have some crazy dating stories. And I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to take that and fictionalize it. So just know that's the trials of being friends with a writer, right?
Yeah. If you tell me this, you're going to need to say off the record before you say it, or I might make notes.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, it helps too. Like, the main character for the next one, she's a teacher. My middle sister went through this process where she was a teacher, but she knew that she didn't want to be a teacher anymore, but she wanted to still do something with education. And this was my like research. I'm like, tell me more about this. Right. Now, how were you feeling in that moment? And what did you want to do? And how did you figure that out? And then I was reading, you know, some lines back to her, and she's like, wait a second. This is me. And I was like, well, it's you, but it's not just you.
Right. Just this conversation bit here. See, that was you.
Right.
But you didn't do that thing, remember?
Exactly.
That wasn't you.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. Linda asked if you have a pair of shoes that's your favorite. Or do you love shoes too? And do you have a pair that's your favorite?
So I totally love shoes. That's another thing that Reagan and I have in common. I will say, though, I think she's slightly more obsessed than I am. But I do love shoes. At one point, I had like over 200 pairs. And then I moved to New York, and you just can't. You just can't have 200 pairs of shoes in New York. So I had to downsize. I don't know that I have a favorite because they're all my children, Linda. So I say like my favorite is whichever one I just bought, basically, because that's the one that I'm like, oh, I just bought it. I'm so excited, right? There's a pair that I bought in December, but I'm waiting for them to come. And because it's taking so long,
the anticipation.
These are the best shoes ever.
They better be the best shoes ever.
Yeah. Right? But I'm really excited about those. I bought a pair of Sarah Jessica Parker heels when I signed my deal with Harlequin, so those have special meaning for me. But honestly, most of them do. You know, that's a theme that runs through the book as well, that the character Reagan, she sort of like identifies moments that happen for her in the book or in her life through the shoes that she's wearing. And that came from me recognizing that when I had a shoe closet when I lived in Maryland, I would say I could walk someone into my shoe closet and tell them my life based off of like the shoes that were in there. And they're not always like designer shoes because that's not what you wear every single day, right? It's like the Birkenstocks that I had on when I found out my boyfriend cheated on me. It's the
that's a true story.
Exactly. It is.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's the Jessica Simpson heels that I wore in France with like some friends. It's the, you know, Chuck Taylors that I wore to a parade. It's just, you know, I can like tell you things that happened that were meaningful to me with those shoes. So that's the same thing, like I said, with those Sarah Jessica Parker ones. They're not, I mean, they're cute heels, but they're not like, if I put them in a line of shoes, you wouldn't be like, those are the ones.
Right.
Those are the ones I just bought when I got my deal. So like those have special meaning right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever used shoes as an incentive for yourself? Like that was a reward for signing the deal, but have you ever used them as an incentive, kind of like Reagan does in the book?
She does it.
Or reward.
Yeah. She does it a lot better than I did. I tried. I did sort of like her. I when I lived in DC, I wanted to try spin, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a new pair of spin shoes, and that's gonna make me go out and do spin. And it didn't. It just I just had the new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe that's not really like the way that it works for me. So no, I don't think I think of it as like, if I do this thing, I will reward myself with a new pair of shoes. But it's certainly sometimes like retail therapy, like, oh yeah, I did do this thing, and so now I'm gonna buy the shoes instead of thinking of it ahead of time.
Definitely, you need something like that to like just as a extra reward. I don't have anything that's just like shoes. Like I love shoes or I love hats or something, but I'll make a list of things if I see something and I'm like, oh, I want that, but I have no reason. I can't justify a reason to do it.
Raina, I'll me and I will help you justify. I am the enabling
friend. I'm like, let me show you a picture of this. Where do you have to wear it? I don't know. It's fine. You'll find somewhere to wear it.
You'll find somewhere. I mean, especially living in New Orleans, I can find you a ball to go to.
Right.
To wear this thing.
There are places.
Yeah.
There are things. Like I have, obviously, everybody in New Orleans, I feel like, has costume pieces.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that like I'll buy costume pieces. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with this. I'm also awful with Mardi Gras costumes, so it's good that I buy costume pieces as I go along because I'm horrible with planning. Some people like plan their Mardi Gras costumes a year in advance and they know exactly what it's gonna be. I'm like, and like 2 days before, I'm like, this is all the things I'm wearing. I've just put all things
and it works, right?
And it worked fine. So I can collect random costume pieces throughout the year, do almost no planning, and then still be able to pull something cohesive out. Crazy and cohesive. That's
great. I am not really great at costuming, whether for Mardi Gras or for Halloween. I have to really like meticulously plan it, or I'm just gonna get caught up and be like, I'm a nerd. I'll put some.
Yeah.
If I didn't meticulously plan it out, I am done. I don't know what to do. But when I have planned it out, I'm like, one year I was the Cat in the Hat and like actually created did the DIY with the hat and the shirt and everything. And that was like I was like, I did this. Like, go Darb. But I couldn't have done that 2 days before, right now. So.
True. Yeah, no, you need time for that. That takes planning. I want to be crafty, but I'm not.
It's fair. It's okay.
It's literally, I see people and you're like, oh, I made this. And I'm like, oh, how? Like, how'd you even do that? I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like what I need to do is just do it more. So in my mind, the Cat in the Hat mine's just falling over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it did flop sometimes, but I would just perch it up in time to take the right picture. Right. And you never knew.
No one ever knew. It was fine.
If it's not pictured, how do you know?
Yeah, if there's no pictures, it didn't happen. So
exactly.
It's fine. So Linda has another question, and we're gonna read into it maybe. I like series instead of standalone books. Do you plan on the possibility of continuing your series? Okay, so you say it's a 3-part series. Did you intend for it to be 3-part series from the beginning, or is that the deal and so that you have 3?
So I knew that I knew that I didn't want it to be a standalone book. I didn't know how many books would be in it. I was offered a 3-book deal, so it's going to at least have 3 books, but we are talking about extending it, so it could be more.
Because there are more characters.
Yeah.
We could follow some more friends in the Friendship Chronicles.
Yeah.
So definitely that. I am.
But I just want to say I did. I think, and this is me trying not to give away things, but Raina, you'll know because you read the book that like it ends with an ending, but you want more. And that's sort of how that's intentional because I want you to want to pick up the next book. And, that like even Reagan's story, even though she's not the main character in the next book, like you still see it because it's a super close knit group of friends. And so you still see like what's going on with her and whoever,
Right.
in whatever happens in the next like version of them. And I think that's why I knew from the beginning that I didn't want it to be a standalone, because one, that was a lot of pressure to be like, oh, and this is how the story ends. No, it just
Right.
keeps going.
Well, and with something like this, where a romance story does that too. I mean, romance, it's not just over, right?
Right.
That's the dream, is that something continues.
Yeah.
And with friendships, it's the same way. You're not reading a story from beginning to end of a friendship. It's a group of women and what they're doing in and out of the bubble that keeps them together.
Exactly.
So when you chose to write that way, like really, this is a story of a group of friends with romance. And I kind of loved that about it, because it felt more realistic than just like a glimpse of a romance.
Yeah.
Or of a love story.
And that's intentional, because I feel like that's how how our lives are, right? That there's certainly, I mean, when you want romance, there's romance in it, but there's all these other things too. So I just, I love reading where it's just the sliver, but I have a hard time relating to just the sliver. I need to see the whole thing to really like feel like I know what's going on with that character. And I was like, if I'm going to talk about what happens in this friend group and what happens in these women's lives, like I needed to do it the way that I would relate to it and hope that other people could relate to it the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. And it works.
Yay.
It's working. All right. I'm just posting the link, Cynthia, so you can pre-order Darby's book right now and have it in your hands on Tuesday when it comes out. And also, if you're in town, we are doing an in-person event with Darby on February 19th. Yes, that is going to be so much fun. There's going to be a DJ. There's going to be drinks. It's going to be good. If you purchase a copy of Darby's book through us, that's a ticket to the event. Yeah. Basically, the ticket to the event is the cost of a book. So you can use that link and get it if you're in town. You can also go to our events page, and that will tell you a little bit more about the details of that actual event and give you a link to order the book. The only difference there is if you want the book on Tuesday, make sure you make a note of that or pre-order the book through the website that way. And then you get it Tuesday. Otherwise, you'll get it at the event when you come to the event on the 19th.
Raina, can we tell them how that came to be? Because I just
yes. Please do. Please. I guess the start is, so do you know Bree from Sweet Honey and Bree on Instagram?
Not personally, but we know, like through Instagram. Okay.
Well, she's the one who recommended that you would be good for Book Banter.
Oh, well, thanks, Bree.
I know Bree, right? And I was like, great, let's contact her. That sounds like a great plan. And we contacted your publicist, and then through you, and set up Book Banter. There we are.
We are.
And then you were in town. Now you go.
And then I was in town, and I was super nervous, but I was like, I'm going to go there and see if they want to do a book signing thing with me. So I convinced my sister to come with me and Jess, the DJ, who's going to be DJing at the event. And I was like, okay, you guys come with me, and we're going to go in there and we're just going to like beg them to let us do this thing. And I walked in, and I was like, hi, I don't know if like, you know me, but and Raina, you were so awesome. You're like, no, I do know you. That's all. And I was like, so I wanted to know if we could do an event together. And immediately all of the brains just came together and created this thing on the spot, which was awesome. And it was just like fate, just one of those things that just had to happen, because this Christmas season was just a mess. I was home, but we were just running around everywhere, everyone was dealing with different stuff with Omicron and everything. And
Right.
I didn't even know if I was going to have time to stop by, but I was like, no, I'm going to stop by. I want to do this. And it just really all worked out. So it's amazing.
I'm so glad that you did, because it's fun to actually, there's a lot of people that I do book banter with, I end up not meeting in person because of COVID, and they're in New York or wherever they are.
Right.
And they just walked through the door and said your name. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're really here in person. Here you are. Right? And then you're like doing a live event, and we're like, yes, we should do that.
Yeah.
You know, picked a date. And try to figure out the whole DJ thing, and then we're like, well, why don't you just do it here?
Oh yeah, that was the thing. We were trying to do 2 separate events. And Leanna's like, why don't you just do it here?
Yeah, we could just DJ. It's fine. We're good.
Just do it here?
We had like a whole brass band upstairs a few months ago, in that lull between Delta and Omicron. We were like, yeah.
It was so great.
And then here we are. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to the event. And like I said, guys, you should follow the links, get a copy of the book, reserve a ticket to the event, because it's going to be a lot of fun. February 19th. Yes.
And I'll just be excited to be home. I mean, that's going to be fun. My baby sister is having her baby, so I'll get to do book stuff and play with the newborn. So I'm just really excited.
Is this your first time being an aunt?
No, this will be my second nephew, 4th time being an aunt. And then I have 2 godchildren. So there's like kids.
You got this. Okay.
But the older ones, they're like older and, teenagers.
Oh, they're not fun anymore.
No, I mean, they're fun, but they're not like babies. Right? Yeah. They're not fun like babies. So we joke, or I'm like, I send my sister a text message almost every day. I'm like, how you feeling? Is the baby coming?
Are you still holding out till the 19th? Are you going to? Am I going to make it? That's good. Yeah. And having nieces and nephews and stuff are so much fun too, because they're like, you get to do these things that you might have to stop yourself from doing. Yeah. Like if this is your own kid, but you're like, no, have that lollipop.
I totally enjoy being the cool aunt.
Right.
I do. And the cool big cousin, like the one that's, I mean, you don't let them go too crazy, right? But I like doing all the fun stuff and then giving you right back to your parents. Like, go back.
Yeah, that's the fun bit. That's the great bit. My sister was great. My son is older than her son. So my sister was great. So by the time like my nephew came along, I had to be good, because my sister never did anything too crazy. But at the same time, I'm like, come on. Yeah. Come on, buddy. We got this. No. Let mom rest. Let's go.
No, it's good. I think that probably the only thing I've done that folks have maybe been annoyed about is that I do like to buy the noisy gifts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the kids love them. I don't know what to tell you.
They do.
If I can buy a keyboard playmat, I'm going to. So just know
that. It's gonna happen. I would get around things like that by buying more realistic instruments. So it's like, oh no, it's a keyboard. I mean, it's a small keyboard, but it's a keyboard. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I've done that too. I've gotten the guitar.
You're gonna be mad because I got them. Like, it's a real tiny drum set, people.
Yeah.
Why are you mad? Like, I didn't get any beeping, bopping thing. This is real. He could be a drummer. I don't know.
It's true. It's true.
So
you're just cultivating his life. That's all.
Exactly. Like, this is art. How does he know unless I buy him a 50 thing paint set with all of the paints to make it real easy? It's not my fault he made a mess. Look, that's not on me.
You're building an artiste. And I mean, I balance it with all the kids in my family also know that they get books, right? So you get a little bit of both.
That's happening. For Christmas, there were presents, my mom and my sister live in Florida and I live here. So a lot of times we'll meet in the middle around Christmas and literally like do a gift exchange.
What's the middle, like Alabama?
Well, technically the middle is Tallahassee is actually the middle from where they live. This year we actually met in Orlando because we were going on to Orlando for something else, and they came up. But one whole like gift bag is just books in it. I'm like, that's the book one. You need to use both hands.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna wrap them each individually. Like that's not fair. But like you need to like heft that one over here. That's just books.
Bend with your knees.
Right. Some of them I've even texted to your mom to see if you would like it. So you already know what some of them are.
That's good.
That's happening. So one of the things that I really liked in your book too, which I'm going to throw in there, is there's a trip that they take. And I was really hoping you would actually take that trip because it gets mentioned. And then I'm like, oh, is she going to show it? Like, are we going there? I want to go there. I really hope we go there. Like, are we doing that? And then we did. And like, yay, travel is like books and travel. These are my two like favorite things. I feel like
this is why we get along, Raina.
Yay. I was like, so I could tell from this too, like when you go, when the girls go, it's like, this did not feel phoned in either, which is something I love about you're doing such a great job.
Thank you.
Everybody, you're gonna love this book. So I was gonna ask you if that's as I suspect potentially trips that you've taken.
It is a combination of trips, but it is certainly inspired from real life, from going to can I say the places?
It's up to you. I mean, that's really up to you. I don't want to. That's not going to be on me. See,
I will just say there are places in Europe. I'll say that.
Yeah.
European.
That's good.
So I mean, I think as a writer, you can certainly write about places you haven't been to, but I just feel like if you've been there, you can just talk about it so much with just much more. I don't know. You can tell. I don't know if you really can tell, but I feel like you can tell if someone's been to a place and they're writing about it, or if they just like read up on everything from it. Because you're just gonna talk about stuff a little bit differently, and like the experiences just feel more authentic. Like I think there's one scene where they're drinking like mulled wine. Like I don't know that you would know that experience just from reading about what happens when people go to that place, right? You have to like live it or have someone tell you that that's what happens when they go there.
Someone's brain who just got back from a trip.
Exactly.
What did they do? Their favorite thing when they went there.
Right.
And that's part of it too. You have this good balance between something you might have learned like from a local or have this real experience mixed with some touristy things because you're only there for a short period of time. So
exactly.
touristy things too. Like you have to pick and choose those bits. But yes, Angela, shoes, books, travel. That's what I'm saying. I read the back of this book, and then like that's one of the things I was saying. I hope they go. When you mention this trip, and then you do, and I'm like, this is everything I need in it. This is like everything I need. There's so much heart between all these characters too. You can tell they clearly really care for each other, and you bring in a little bit of family with Reagan's family and some other one of the other girls' family members too, and just like I don't know. I can't wait for it to come out on Wednesday. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, and she does this and she does this and she does that. And that was my favorite part.
I know. I'm like, I want to talk to you about some of the things, but we can't.
Like, there's some more. Like, when you come, you'll have to come a little early so that we can do the gossipy thing ahead of time, and then we can do the event, and then you can answer the questions, read from it, whatever you're gonna do. It's great. Okay, I have one more thing I'm interested in too. Did they just throw this cover together? Did you get a yes, that looks good, or no, that what are you doing?
A little bit. So Harlequin has this big, like, they call it an art fact sheet, but it's not as simple as that. It's like you fill out a lot of information on the characters and like different scenes in the book, and important facts about like how they look and what kind of clothes they normally wear and like that kind of thing. And you basically give that over to the art team and they come up with something. And for me, they sent me the cover and they were like, okay, this is a draft, but like if you don't hate it, this is basically your
Please don't make us redo this.
Please don't hate it. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. Like, I love it. There were a couple things that we tweaked, but mostly it was there. Like, it was right there. And I'm sure that made them happy. They were like, oh, good. But I loved it. I mean, I think it's great to be able to see, even though it's a romance rom-com, however you want to categorize it. Like, I thought it was great that they decided to show just Reagan on the cover with her shoes, sort of in the shoe closet that I wish that I could have.
Right. Those drawers just pull out, and they're just full of shoes. Like, I know that's real. Yeah,
it's like, who wouldn't want that closet? I do, for sure. Because I think, one of the things I've been thinking about, like themes with the book, right, is that it certainly is about trusting love again, but it's also, she has to trust herself before she can trust anything with any other person. So I thought it was great that they decided to show just Reagan, because it's like she has to go through this journey on her own first before she can even think about loving someone else. And then when she does, like she goes there.
Right. Yeah. She's like, okay, let's jump back in. Let's see how this works out. No, and I really appreciated that too, because it feels very realistic. And as you grow older, you realize maybe I need to look in here a little. Maybe I did something. Maybe that much was me. Maybe that much was him.
Right.
That much might be me. So, okay, maybe I will. I'll think about it a minute.
Yeah, I guess.
And she has these moments too where she's like, I guess, like maybe I'll look inside a little bit for a minute.
Right.
And her friends are there for her. Her friends are like, honey, maybe you should look yourself just a minute. We agree it's only you this much. We agree with you.
But you could work on that.
Yeah, and that's a very realistic moment, and something, as you get older, you start realizing you got to look in the mirror a little bit more, It's so I really appreciated that part of this book too. And it's not even a big thing, but mentioning it sets your book apart from a lot of books that I have read in it, trying to go for a similar thing, and then she never has a self-reflection moment, and I'm like, okay,
like you didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. It was just
like I don't want that to be me, but I'm having to realize it might be a little bit. So I very much enjoyed that and made Reagan even more of a real person, real character.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that's exactly what I want, how I want people to feel when they read it.
Well, you're doing an excellent job, and I cannot wait to put this in everyone's hand, and then in May read the next one, and in question mark read the next one.
Yeah, soon. We'll just say soon. Yeah.
You can't leave if you come with 1 and 2 that close together. You can't leave 3 hanging very.
I know. Yeah, it's
you
got
it. You got this. Wherever you are in the process, I believe in you.
Thank you.
You can either, if it takes a little long, you just put that pair of shoes, right? You put it on hold somewhere. You put a picture of it up on the
That's true.
dream board.
That's true.
And then when you click that final submit button, you get to buy the shoes.
That's true. That's a good point. Someone asked me the other day, like, oh, did you do anything to treat yourself after you turned in book 2, actually. And I was like, huh, no, I didn't. I was like, now I have to go back. And
Right? You're gonna do something, yeah. I mean, even if it's not a pair of shoes, you fancy dinner, do that thing.
I will tell you, I definitely, this is so bad, I shouldn't admit this. For release day, I was like, I want some pedifores from Gambino's. So I ordered, but you can't just order pedifores from Gambino's and get them shipped. You have to order this big box of sweets. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these sweets. It's like 24 pedifores, 12 brownies, like the little Dauberge cakes. Like it is way more sweets than I ever. I was like, I want those pedifores.
What's the minimum order? I'll take
in New York. Like, here, would you like a Dauberge cake? Would you like a brownie?
In New York, they're gonna be like, wait, what? Yeah. Are you? There's something wrong with this. Is there poison in here? What did you do to it?
No, I'm just gonna gather all my. I mean, not one-on-one. I will give them out to friends with my mask on and say, like, here,
absolutely,
for being a good person, you get 5 Dauberge cakes because I can't eat them.
You are a 2 brownie, 1 Dauberge cake level of friend. This is for you.
Exactly.
Hopefully none of them are watching. They'll never know.
We'll never know. This is just between us.
Yes. We tell no one. I love it. Well, I am, as I said, very excited to sell this one. Very excited to read the next one. Super excited for your event. Everybody follow the link. Get a ticket to the event. Follow the link if you're not going to be in town for the event. And the link above that is the pre-order for her book. And thank you so much for joining me for Book Banter.
This was so much fun. Thanks, Raina.
This was tons of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. And everybody who watched and everybody who commented and asked questions, thank you so much for interacting and so much for watching us this evening. We really do appreciate it. All of the love. All right. Bye everybody.